Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today we're going to be talking about pride,
Uh-oh.
but not just pride on its own.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at pride, particularly early pride, and the dangers of early pride,
I like it.
and how it can really sabotage us early in our journey, whether that's, career or personal or really anything that we're striving toward.
Yeah, makes sense.
So to help us unpack all this, we're going to be looking at some historical figures, some philosophers, even a children's book author.
That sounds like fun.
It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Let's jump right in.
Okay.
I think a good place to start would be C.S. Lewis.
Sure.
He said, "A proud man is always looking down on things and people. And of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see something that is above you."
Yeah, that's such a good quote.
So obviously this is a metaphor,
All right.
but how does this actually play out in real life?
Well, I think when we get caught up in our early successes, we tend to think we know more than we do, and that can really limit our perspective.
Okay, so we miss out on opportunities to learn and grow because we think we've already got it figured out.
Exactly. And we might even start to dismiss feedback from others because we think we know better.
Like we're too good for advice.
Right, and that can be really dangerous, especially early on in our journey when we still have so much to learn.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like trying to navigate a maze while looking at your feet.
Ooh.
I like that.
You're bound to run into a wall.
You're going to hit a wall.
Exactly.
And that actually reminds me of a story about Benjamin Franklin
Oh, yeah.
when he was younger.
I love that story.
So Ben Franklin, he's walking around Boston, right? He's had some early success, and he's feeling pretty good about himself.
As one does.
As one does. And as he's walking, he walks right into this low-hanging beam,
Oh, no.
hits his head,
Ouch.
and his mentor, Cotton Mather, sees this happen.
Oh.
And he says, "Stoop, young man, stoop as you go through this world, and you'll miss many hard thumps."
That's so good.
Yo, it's so good.
So simple, but so profound. So he's not just talking about physical beams here. Obviously, he's
Right.
talking about the metaphorical beams.
Yeah, metaphorical beams in life.
Things that we're going to hit our heads on if we're not careful.
Exactly, those obstacles and setbacks that we're all going to encounter on our journey.
So what might be some of those beams for us today?
Well, I think it could be anything that we're not paying attention to because we're too focused on ourselves.
Okay.
So it could be, ignoring advice from someone who's been there before,
Okay.
or dismissing feedback that could help us improve,
Okay.
or even just not being open to new ideas and perspectives because we think we already have all the answers.
This whole looking down aspect of pride kind of
Yeah.
makes me think of those ancient Greek tragedies
Interesting.
where, like, the gods would call promising
Right.
those they wanted to destroy
Oh, yeah. Like they would give them so much success and then,
and then take it all away.
it all comes crashing down.
Exactly, because they got too proud. Yeah, and there's actually this line from Theognis that says, "The first thing, Kurnos, which gods bestow on one they would annihilate, is pride."
Wow, that's powerful.
I know, right?
So it's like they knew back then that pride could lead to this delusional sense of invincibility, which would then set you up for a major fall.
A major fall.
Yeah.
And it's not even always like a big dramatic fall.
No, you're right.
Like sometimes it's this slow, gradual decline
Exactly.
where you just get complacent and stop pushing yourself.
And you start making bad decisions because you think you're invincible, and before you know it, everything's falling apart.
It's like pride comes before the fall, but sometimes the fall is this slow burn.
I like that, the slow burn.
It's a slow burn, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about how pride can make us miss opportunities to learn
Right.
and how it can lead to this delusional sense of invincibility. But there's another danger that I think is worth exploring, and that's the trap of label making.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean by that?
So you achieve a small victory, right? And suddenly you're defining your entire identity around it.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it's like, I launched a website, so now I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
Or I got a few likes on my YouTube video, so now I'm going to be a famous musician.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Oh my gosh. I am so guilty of this. The other day I baked a pretty decent loaf of sourdough.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open a bakery.
Wow.
And my partner had to be like, maybe bake a few more loaves first
That's fine.
before you quit your job.
Yeah, maybe.
But why do we do this?
I think it's because we crave validation.
Okay.
We want to feel like we belong and that we have a purpose.
Right.
And so we latch onto these labels as a way of defining ourselves and making sense of the world.
But the problem is that when we cling too tightly to these labels,
Yeah.
we actually limit our potential.
Exactly, because we become afraid to step outside of the box that we've created for ourselves.
We're afraid to try new things, to fail to experiment.
Right, because we don't want to risk damaging the image that we've built.
So how do we avoid this trap?
Well, I think it starts with self-awareness.
Okay.
Being aware of our tendency to label ourselves and to seek validation from external sources. And then it's about focusing on the process of growth and learning rather than the outcome.
So it's not about achieving some end goal.
Right.
It's about the journey itself.
Exactly.
You know, this makes me think about John D. Rockefeller,
Oh, interesting.
one of the wealthiest men in history.
Yeah.
And he had this practice of nightly self-reflection.
Really?
And he would ask himself these tough questions.
Like what?
Like, am I going to be a fool? Am I going to let this money puff me up?
Wow.
So even someone like Rockefeller, who had achieved what most people would consider the pinnacle of success,
Right.
was actively fighting against pride.
That's so interesting.
I know, it really shows that this is a lifelong battle,
It is.
no matter where you are on your journey.
Absolutely. And it's not just about personal growth either. I think Rockefeller also understood that pride could affect his relationships and his business decisions.
Right.
And his ability to stay grounded in his values.
Yeah. And it makes me think about how we can become addicted to validation,
Oh, yeah.
especially early on in our journey.
It's so easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah, we crave that praise, those likes, that external confirmation that we're doing something right. But as the Little Prince warns us, vain men never hear anything but praise.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So how do we cultivate a healthy relationship with validation and feedback?
That's a great question, and it's something that we're going to explore further in the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, a little cliffhanger.
Yes, stay tuned.
Because it's not just about avoiding negative feedback.
Right.
It's also about being discerning about the positive feedback that we receive.
Exactly, because not all praise is created equal.
Yeah. Who are we surrounding ourselves with?
Yeah. Are they genuinely supportive, or are they just stroking our egos?
This has given me a lot to think about. It's like we're all susceptible to this pride trap, no matter how self-aware we think we are.
That's the thing about pride. It's insidious. It sneaks up on you,
Yeah.
whispering in your ear, telling you you've already arrived when you've barely even started the journey.
But here's the good news.
Okay.
The antidote to pride, the key to breaking free from this cycle of self-delusion, is
What is it?
self-knowledge.
Ah, yes, of course.
And that's what we're going to be diving into next time.
I can't wait. Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, that quote we ended on last time about vain men only hearing praise?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really stuck with me.
It's powerful, right?
Yeah, like it's making me question a lot of things, honestly.
That's good though, right? I mean, these insights, they should make us challenge our assumptions and look at things in a new way.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
You know, we've talked a lot about the pitfalls of early pride, but I think it's important to highlight the other side of that coin,
Okay.
which is humility.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think of humility as, you know, being meek or self-effacing, but I'm starting to see it as this kind of quiet strength, this willingness to learn and grow, even when it means admitting that you don't have all the answers.
That's a good point. Humility isn't about denying your accomplishments or downplaying your strengths.
Right.
It's more about having the self-awareness to recognize your limitations,
Okay.
to embrace your imperfections, and to approach life with a beginner's mind.
I love that, a beginner's mind.
Right.
Because it's like that sense of curiosity and wonder that we often lose as we get older.
Exactly. We think we've seen it all, we know it all.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we close ourselves off to new experiences and new perspectives.
But when we approach life with humility,
Yeah,
it's like this whole world of possibilities opens up.
it does. It allows us to be curious, open, and willing to be surprised.
You know, this reminds me of something we touched on earlier.
What's that?
The importance of surrounding ourselves with other strivers.
Oh, yeah. Those who are also on a journey of growth and learning.
Yeah, because when you have those people around you, it's almost like a form of seeking feedback and guidance.
Absolutely. And it combats that whole vain, men only hearing praise problem.
Right, exactly. Because you're
Yep.
constantly being challenged and supported by people who are on a similar path.
And it's not just about finding people who are more experienced or successful than us.
Okay.
We can learn from anyone.
Right.
regardless of their age, background, or level of expertise.
Yeah, as long as we approach those interactions with a humble and open mind.
Exactly.
Every interaction, every experience has the potential to teach us something new.
If we're willing to listen and learn,
Yeah, this is making me think about how we often conflate pride with confidence.
that's an interesting point.
But I think true confidence isn't about thinking you're better than everyone else.
Right.
It's more about knowing your strengths, acknowledging your weaknesses, and being comfortable with who you are,
Flaws and all.
flaws and all.
Yeah, and that kind of confidence, I think, stems from humility. Because you're not trying to be something you're not.
Yeah, you're not putting on a front, you're just being yourself.
Exactly. And that's a powerful distinction because true confidence is grounded in self-awareness and a deep understanding of our own values and capabilities.
So it's not about arrogance or bravado.
No, it's about quiet self-assurance.
And that kind of confidence is contagious.
It is. When we're around people who are genuinely secure in themselves,
Yeah.
it inspires us to be more confident in our own abilities.
Like if they can be comfortable with not knowing everything, maybe I can too.
Exactly. It creates this positive feedback loop where
Yeah.
everyone feels empowered to contribute.
Without feeling like they need to prove themselves.
Right. Or one-up each other.
This whole conversation is making me rethink the way I approach success.
In what way?
It's not about achieving some external validation or proving myself to the world. It's more about this journey of self-discovery and growth.
I love that.
And humility is kind of like the compass that keeps me on track.
Beautifully said. And that journey is so much more fulfilling when we approach it with humility and a willingness to learn from our mistakes.
Speaking of mistakes, we're all going to stumble and fall along the way.
We are. Nobody's perfect.
And that's okay.
Yeah. In fact, maybe those stumbles are those beams we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you hit your head on the beam, you learn from it, and you keep going.
Exactly. And it's how we respond to those challenges and setbacks that truly defines our character.
Which brings us back to Ben Franklin.
Our favorite founding father.
Right, and his lifelong battle against pride.
He was very intentional about stooping to avoid those metaphorical beams.
And he wasn't perfect.
No one is.
He messed up plenty of times.
But he was always striving to learn from those experiences.
And become a better version of himself.
Exactly. He understood that pride could lead to complacency and a false sense of security.
So maybe it's not about never experiencing pride.
Right.
Because that's probably impossible.
It's human nature.
Right. Maybe it's more about recognizing it when it pops up.
Okay.
And not letting it take over.
Like, oh, hey, pride, I see you there trying to make me feel superior.
Yeah, but not today.
Not today.
I'm not falling for it.
Exactly. It's about developing that inner compass.
Okay.
That guides us back to humility and helps us stay true to our values.
This has been so eye-opening.
It has.
But before we move on to our final part,
Yes.
I want to hear from you, our listeners.
You do.
What are some of the beams that you've bumped into on your journey?
Ooh, yeah.
What are your strategies for keeping pride in check?
We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights, so share them with us on social media.
Or leave a comment on our website.
We'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive into early pride.
Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. As we wrap up our look at this whole early pride thing, I'm realizing it's not just about, dodging those pitfalls.
Right.
It's almost like unlocking this whole new way of being in the world.
It is. When we let go of that need to prove ourselves too early, it really opens up a much richer and more fulfilling journey.
So we've talked about self-knowledge being like the antidote to pride, but I'm kind of wondering if we can dig into that a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So what does that actually, look like in practice?
So it's about really understanding your strengths,
Okay.
but also your weaknesses,
Okay.
your biases, your blind spots, all of it. And being honest with yourself, even when it's hard.
And I feel like that's where a lot of us get tripped up.
Mm-hmm.
We're so
Oh, that's
afraid of, looking dumb or incompetent
Yeah,
that we try to project this perfect image.
totally. But isn't that just another form of pride?
Oh, for sure.
Like we're so focused on how we appear to others
Yeah.
that we're not actually being authentic.
And I think that just leads to burnout and feeling stuck.
Because we're not allowing ourselves to grow and evolve.
Makes me think about how much we celebrate these overnight success stories.
Right.
But what we don't see is all the struggles and failures and self-doubt
Years of it, usually.
that it took to get there.
It's the unseen work.
Yeah, maybe we need to totally rethink how we define success.
I think so. True success isn't about reaching some specific destination. It's about the journey itself.
Oh.
The continuous learning, the evolving, the becoming.
And that journey's way more fun when you're not all burdened by pride, right?
Of course.
Like when you can just approach everything with curiosity and humility,
That's a good
knowing
way.
that, you don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
but being totally open to learning.
Exactly. It's that beginner's mindset again.
Yeah.
That willingness to be a student, even when you're in a leadership role.
That makes me think of Genghis Khan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like he conquered all these massive empires,
He did.
but he was always searching out wisdom from other people,
He was.
recognizing that he could always learn more.
No matter how much he already knew.
Exactly. And it really challenges that whole image of a leader as someone who has to know everything.
It does. And think about how freeing that is.
Yeah.
To lead from a place of humility.
Like you're not afraid to ask for help or to say, hey, I messed up.
Right. It creates this awesome culture of collaboration and everyone learns together.
This has been a great deep dive.
I agree.
Before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay. I like it.
What's one thing you can do today to like stoop a little bit, you know, like Cotton Mather told Ben Franklin?
Love it.
Is there a conversation you've been avoiding?
Or maybe a skill you've been putting off learning because you thought you already knew enough.
What about an apology you've been holding back?
Ooh, good one.
Maybe it's just like asking someone for advice
That's a good start.
or, starting a daily self-reflection practice
That could be powerful.
or even just being more present when you're talking to people.
All great ideas.
Just remember, humility isn't weak.
No, it's a superpower.
Yeah, it lets you see clearly, connect with people, and reach your full potential.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us for this journey into pride and humility.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, keep learning, keep those hearts open, and keep stooping.
So you can soar even higher.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.